Yeah, all right. Woo! To the bar. All right. So yeah, kill a couple seconds before our official start time. Yeah. All right. No worries. No. Why would you do that? What's that? Hell no. Keep it rolling. All right, so welcome to applying the 32 Zombieland rules to IT security. My name is Larry Pesce, aka Hacks for the Matrix. So let's get right to it. Helps if I turn this thing on, right? Hey, all right, there we go. So a little bit about me. I've done just about everything you can possibly imagine from the IT space. Web design, rack and stack networking, in healthcare, higher ed. Spent the past couple of years doing penetration testing from a consulting perspective, and then changed sort of gears to do penetration testing and hardware hacking in the energy sector, and then promptly got laid off. But shortest unemployment ever, 10 hours after I got laid off. I got picked up by a great group of friends and folks that I've considered family. I got picked up by InGuardians to do penetration testing and hardware hacking. So, yay! Shortest unemployment ever. Yay! It is true, there is zero unemployment in the IT security space. Yes. I'm also an author, had a name on a couple of books with Singris, and my good friend Paul, and amongst others, do the Paul.com Security Weekly podcast once a week. So for those of you who haven't heard, go check out the booth with Black Hills Information Security over in the vendor area. All right, I'm also a SANS certified instructor. I teach the wireless course 617 and just started doing the mobile device hacking 575 as well. And I'm also what I consider an amateur prepper. I'm not crazy like some of those guys you see on TV. Yes, sure, we have guns and we have bullets and we have food. But we don't have the underground bunker and all those types of things. Yet. Exactly. I will be that crazy guy. My wife wasn't so into this whole prepping thing until I got laid off. And I said, honey, we do not need to go to the grocery store for 6 months. She went, oh, okay. All right. I get it now. So it's not just for a hurricane or a power outage or zombie apocalypse. It can be a personal disaster, such as not having a job. So yeah, having that stuff on hand is good. Hey, now that said, that 6 months worth of food may not have been what we wanted to eat, but we weren't going hungry, okay? Yeah, rice and beans gets boring after a while. Yeah, load up on Tabasco too, okay? All right, so this whole zombie apocalypse and prepping thing is definitely a family affair. Mommy was not too happy about one of these pictures. You can guess which one. Okay, it's not the bacon one. Actually, my wife was the one taking the picture of the 3-month-old with the bacon. She was not the one taking the picture of the 5-year-old with the axe. Yes. So the vehicle on the right is the first zombie defense vehicle, as my daughter calls it. That used to be Deviant Ollam's 2000 GMC Yukon, which I drove back from Philly, and about a month later blew the motor on. Yeah, 200,000 plus miles on the engine, and it was going to cost me more to fix it than the vehicle was worth. So we picked up a 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee, 4-inch lift, and all sorts of fun radio antennas and loads of fun. And it's definitely a family affair. The 5-year-old loves to go work on the zombie defense vehicle with Daddy, and I love to have her work on it with me because she can fit under the dashboard and small hands. Okay. All right, so a little bit about this presentation. It is not terribly technical, but I'm going to have lots of fun. I don't know about you folks, but I'm certainly going to have lots of fun. Unfortunately, this is sort of what happens when you change jobs 3 times in a year. Two of those changes were not of my own choice. One got laid off unexpectedly. The other one, we had 3 months' notice we were going to get laid off. So this is what happens. You spend your time spending a lot of time trying to find a job, resume, interviews, and then in that whole process, we had a child, and your time goes away pretty quickly when you have 2 kids and one that is like an infant. So I got in a day early to DerbyCon. I misread an email, so I got here a full day early. Whoops, Wednesday is not Thursday. And it was the first full night's sleep I had in almost 4 months. So, woohoo! I went to bed early. Yeah, get off my lawn. All right. All right, so
No accidents.
exactly. So I got stuck on a couple of these rules, and this is my sort of perspective on applying the 32 Zombieland rules to IT security. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you say, Larry, that rule is crap, this is better. Absolutely, I'd love to hear it. Credit where credit is due. I gave this presentation at Sands Vegas last week, and actually had some great feedback and updated the slides for 2 of those, and I thought they were great suggestions. So it's a sort of open, living, fun document, and would love to have feedback from you as well. Okay, so the other one too, I know a shop when I see it. Okay, so scene from the movie, Woody Harrelson in the grocery store beating zombies with a banjo. Yeah, it has a picture of Twinkies on the shelf that you go too far and focus on the end goal that you actually miss the roses along the way. And allegedly there was the box of Twinkies in the grocery store. No, there wasn't. Okay, we'll see that picture again. Okay, so why this whole Zombieland theme? Well, one, I love zombies, but I hate horror movies. And in most of the cases, the zombies, I think, are actually more humor than anything else. I come from the generation when Creature Double Feature was on the Fox station on Sundays. And my dad loved Creature Double Feature. And I was always forced to watch it on Sundays with my dad. And I would just get over the nightmares on Friday night from like Creature from the Black Lagoon and all those things. And I'd just get over the nightmares, and sure enough, it's Sunday again. So all this new round of nightmares as a kid. So to me, this one is more humor than horror, and it's lots of fun. It's also sort of full of all sorts of badassery and humor, and well, Bill Murray. All right, Bill fucking Murray. All right. Great cast of characters, great story, and some really great rules to live and survive by in the zombie apocalypse. And I started watching it, and I've seen it a couple times, and I thought about it. I'm like, hey, you know what? That sort of reminds me of something that I did last week at this pen test, or remind me of something that I was advising a client on. And, well, it sort of had a correlation to some IT security stuff. Okay, so why? Well, in my mind, zombies are a individual that wants something that you've got. In the case of a zombie, the zombie wants your brain, right? But when we start thinking about that from the prepper perspective, that it may not be a zombie, but it's somebody that has something that you want. You've got food, you've got ammunition, you've got shelter, you've got water. So that's somebody that's trying to take that from you. Okay? And when I think about this from the IT security perspective, you all have some network, and there's something on that network that some adversary wants, whether it be credit card numbers, PHI, human resources information. Ultimately, preaching to the choir, it comes down to CPU, bandwidth, and disk space. You've got something they want, brains, right? So the attacker, the adversary, is the zombie, and you've got something they want. Okay. So I promised you 32 rules. So to quote the movie, it's now time to nut up or shut up. Okay. So let's take a look at some of those rules. As we saw from the initial start of the movie, rule number 1 is cardio. So when we start going through these rules, they only make mention of a couple of the rules in the movie. A couple of them come from promotional material, and some of them are made up by fans. So I denote which ones are which as we go through the presentation based on the research. Thank God for the internet. Okay, and thank God for the fan base and all that stuff. When I did all of the research, I did the presentation title and the 32 rules of Zombieland. Turns out there's 33 rules, so you get a bonus one. Okay. All right, so number 1, cardio. Why do you call me now? Stop. Okay. All right. So cardio, exercise, stay in shape, be able to run from zombies. And I see this as, well, there's a great opportunity in the IT security for us to become generalists and do everything. But there's just no way we can know everything. So picking some specialties and using that specialty over and over again starts building that muscle memory. You remember what you need to do, and we start remembering the things that we need to do for our job. So that's working our brain out for those same repetitive type of tasks, and it becomes second nature. Okay. All right, number 2, the double tap. So shoot the zombies twice for good measure. Don't be stingy with your bullets, or you're going to become a human Happy Meal. Okay. So my thoughts on this is, well, if you're going to do it twice, 2 layers of protection. Okay. We've got all sorts of technology that we deploy in the environment to help with security, whether they be application firewalls, NAC. The list goes on. The problem is that it really comes down to sort of the last mile. It's the human that is the problem. So provide the training to the human. So do the technology, but also think about the human and start doing that education there as well. Number 3, beware of bathrooms. They catch you with your pants down, right? Okay, so they're everywhere, even in that little stall while you've got your pants down and no way out. I see this as moving from sort of an external to an internal type pen test, because you're in that little box on your internal pen test with your pants down. Because in 2.5, almost 3 years of doing pen test consulting full time, we find that folks do a really good job of protecting their environments externally from the internet threat. But internally, it's wide open. You've got that small box, and you're there with your pants down when you finally get in. So protect your internal network just like you would from the internet. Do segmentation, firewalls, default deny rules, all the same things that you do from the internet-facing stuff between segments in your network. Okay. Number 4, seatbelts. So seatbelts can save your life, but we can apply multiple layers to saving your life in automobiles, such as airbags and then potentially sort of offensive and defensive driving techniques. I liken this to picking an audit standard to start with for a seatbelt and then making friends with your auditor. Why? I loved my IT auditor when I spent 12.5 years in healthcare, because I had a hard time often convincing management to give me money or be able to develop programs, give me the time to do so. But this third party, independent of everything that we were doing, comes in and says, hey, we want to do an audit. I'm like, great, because I'm going to tell you all the things that are wrong. And then what do? Yeah. They put that in their recommendations, and then the recommendations comes from that third party and go, hey, I told you so. And look, the auditor even said so. Okay? And then they give me time and money to implement those programs. So make friends with your auditors. Okay. Number 5, no attachments. This was one of the things that I actually dealt with quite a bit in healthcare. We had a zero tolerance policy for porn. Yeah, you surf porn at work, you're fired. So we did a lot of inspection for that type of stuff, tried to catch folks surfing for porn. It was a serious business. And there were many times that we made friends with folks in that organization. And guess what? A week later, you're busting them for surfing for porn. And that's sort of where that no attachments come from. This job is going to be difficult, and start approaching some of those relationships lightly. Okay. Number 6, the skillet. And I'm going to actually move kind of fast because we've got 32 rules in an hour. So that's like, 30 seconds or about 2 minutes per rule, if that. So yeah, I can't do math. So yeah. All right, so number 6, the skillet from promotional material. Sometimes, weapons are close at hand. This comes from a story from the promotional material in which an older couple was stuck in their mobile home, and they were out of ammo, and the zombies were still coming. So they turned to the next available thing that they had that even remotely resembled a weapon, which was a cast iron frying pan. And they allegedly survived because they took out the zombies with a frying pan. And I see this as sort of being, leverage a tool that you already use for something else, maybe 90 degrees off center, and leverage the results from those tools for something else. So one of the things that we talk about in the SANS wireless class is a tool called JizKismet for doing mapping from war driving for wireless access points, and then leveraging Google Earth and to be able to map those on the map. Well, it all gets logged to a SQLite 3 database, and you can use SQL statements against that same database to gather information about the status of wireless networks, authentication types, counts, you name it. So I use the same tool for reporting as well. Number 7, travel light. From the movie, be ready to move. Take absolutely the absolute minimum. Use what you need what you use. So I'd like this to the keep it simple, stupid methodology. And sometimes overthinking a problem, can really lead you down potentially the wrong path. Prime example, we did some assessment work in the energy sector. I talked about this as part of my DEF CON fail panel portion. And I was able to acquire an SD card image from a device. And instead of going for a full forensics analysis of this image, we didn't do the full forensics. We used Unix strings against the image and found the complete configuration file from disk in clear text. And with that configuration file contained usernames and passwords, so we could get complete control of the device. Yeah, we didn't need to overthink it. Use the simple tools first. Okay. Get a Kickass Partner. So see if you can find someone in the industry that or at work that can kick as much butt as you can or more. And talk to folks in the community, like coming to DerbyCon and having Hallway Con and talking to folks and sharing ideas. There are plenty of resources, outside of when we leave con. IRC, Twitter, Facebook. Surprisingly enough, some very active communities on LinkedIn, if you'd like that kind of thing. But reach out to the community, give something back, and take as much as you need from the community, because quite honestly, a lot of us are here to help. Number 9, survive the zombies with your bare hands. Okay. So when you don't have any weapons, it's time to move to using your hands, to melee. And I liken this to when you find a problem, whether you're doing pen test assessment, securing something in your environment, there is no tool that exists. Guess what? It's time to write one. Okay. And start small. I can shell script like nobody's business, but I can't program in Python to save my life. Yeah. So go over to the books over in the vendor area and go pick up like Python for Kids. Yeah, it's intended for 11-year-olds. Guess what I'm using to teach myself Python with? Because guess what some very small children are going to use in a couple of years? That same book. And I've already gone through it, so hopefully Daddy has some ideas to help at that point. Start small. Start with a shell script. Start with the batch file to leverage some of those issues, and then pick a language of choice, whether it be Python, Ruby, Lua, you name it. Find something that works for you. Okay. Number 10, don't swing low. Okay, so with a zombie, we know where the killing shot is because we've seen lots of movies and comic books and TV shows. You got to aim for the head, and you have to know where the head is when you're going for that killing shot. No center mass. So taking an approach when going into an incident and knowing who to call when you're in the thick of things and knowing where that target is to get some help is incredibly important. I spent a lot of time in healthcare and education coming up with some incident response plans. And one of the things that was really helpful was having that list as part of the incident response plan of who do I call in the local FBI field office? Who do I call in the local state police computer crimes division when we have a problem? What is the phone number of the vendor that I use for additional hands and feet support if I actually need to go back to sort of a manual process for doing updates or something like that? Have them printed out and have them knowing where they are then, as opposed to trying to find them later. Okay. Number 11, this is one that I updated from last week. So use your foot. So if your hands are occupied, you still have plenty of weapons left on your body. You can still, bite zombies, but that's probably not a good idea. So use your feet, because you can start to stamp out a problem with your feet as well. And I saw this as great. We've got one layer defense. So why not use another? We've done things like firewalls, antivirus, host hardening. Let's now leverage something like application whitelisting on the desktop. You can only run these executables and these executables only. Now, this isn't going to work for every environment. And quite honestly, it's not going to work every time you use your feet for stamping out zombies. You're going to get bit. So, and application whitelisting is still one of those things that's pretty challenging to implement. So yeah, you're going to try it and you're going to get bit. So. Okay. Number 12, bounty paper towels. Okay. So I liken this as to this complete disaster. You need something to clean up the mess after you're done with zombies. So I liken this complete mess to this whole thing that we call the internet and all this web design, in that we've got developers that are developing websites don't sanitize their input, don't sanitize their output, and just have this general mess. And then we're taking that and we're cleaning it up for the websites and then completely forgetting all of the mobile technologies that is leveraging the same stuff. Half the time that mobile app that you're looking at is just a glorified web browser that's interpreting HTTP and results back, whether they be SOAP or whichever coming back. All the same problems exist all over again. So maybe we need to start thinking about improving those processes, secure software development life cycles, secure DevOps, educating our developers. And then while we're at it, while we're dealing with the humans and the human side of dealing with those developers and how they think, why don't you throw a WAF into it at the same time? Okay. Number 13, shake it off. When bad stuff happens, you're going to lose members of your team and of your crew during the zombie apocalypse. Great. It's not the time to mourn in the middle of the battle, because that's going to get you munched. So shake it off, deal with it at the appropriate time. So yes, these jobs in IT security are stressful. That's probably part of the reason why we outdrank the entire Kentucky Derby last year. Okay. So then the hotel claimed that this year's Kentucky Derby drank us out over last year, and the hotel staff said, no, that's true. They did outdrink. Kentucky Derby did outdrink us this year over last year, but the only reason that was the case was because we didn't have anything left to drink last year. We literally drank the bar out of everything. I think when I left Sunday afternoon last year, we had Miller Lite left. That's it. Nothing. No hard alcohol, no wine, no bourbon, nothing. Miller Lite on tap. Yeah, because that stuff's nasty. Okay. All right. So great. Yeah, let it go. The job is going to be there in the morning. Don't get stressed out about it. Go find a hobby that's decidedly non-tech. I work with electronics. Great. Well, that's a little bit techy. I build things in the workshop. I restore pinball machines. I do woodworking. I work with my hands. There's no stress. Okay. I have a mentor that taught me this many years ago and said, Larry, you need to find a non-tech hobby because I'm going to see you getting burned out pretty quick. So his advice to me was get a non-tech hobby. His non-tech hobby did not leverage a tool that was made before 1900. Okay. He rebound antique books. Yeah, so antique tools and no stress and no technology involved whatsoever. So decompress. And, well, maybe alcohol isn't the best way for us to decompress. It's lots of fun, but hurts our bodies. Okay. Number 14, always carry a change of underwear. Okay, I do apologize. This is DerbyCon. I probably didn't need to censor the slide, but I did. Okay. All right. So go do some incident response. This is like hanging that extra shirt and the tie on the back of your door. Yeah, because sometimes we need to wear ties and sometimes we need to have a good, clean shirt. We always expect that this task is never going to take as long as it really does. And next thing you know, it's 6 a.m. and we've been in the office all night. So make sure you've got that jump bag in your office, whether you're doing incident response or even just general IT security work. Because next thing you know, it's too late and your coworkers are showing up and you smell horrible. Okay. Pack some deodorant, pack a clean shirt and a clean pair of underwear. Okay. Your coworkers will appreciate it. Okay. All right. Number 15, the bowling ball, which was dubbed a alleged perfect solution for the double tap. Great. You use the bullet on the first one. Maybe you do want to conserve them. You do need to be stingy because where are you going to start finding them? Reference number 6, the skillet. Use another tool for the job for that double tap. Smash the zombie in the head with a bowling ball where appropriate. Okay. So I sort of liken this. Great. We've got the right tool for the right job, the bullet, but sometimes there are potentially multiple tools for the right job. And don't sort of sandbox yourself into one method of thinking that you have to make this tool work to do something and it doesn't quite do what I want to. I see lots of folks and even some of my coworkers that, hey, I'm a Linux guy and I don't want to touch OS 10 or I don't want to touch Windows ever. Use the right tool for the right job. Even that means if going outside your comfort zone, use Windows, use OS 10, use Linux, use them all, and use the appropriate tool for the appropriate job. Number 16, opportunity knocks. This was one that sort of struck me when doing incident response plans for healthcare. We developed the incident response plan so that stage number 1 was along the lines of if you find something that's suspicious, report it, investigate it, and then if you don't have any initial results, pass it up to the next layer in the chain, who then will perform additional analysis. This is like the tiered approach to help desk stuff. Hey, I got a virus notification on my machine. They call the help desk. The help desk looks at it and goes, oh, yeah, no, this was a false positive. We're good to go. And we'll just let the security group know that it happened. And we'll close the ticket. Well, maybe it's something unusual. They don't understand it. They haven't seen it before. They'll pass it on up the chain. That's practicing your incident response escalation procedures every day. See rule number 1, cardio. Okay. So practice that stuff over and over again. And you may not even realize that you're practicing this stuff. So when it came down to some of the options for us to do tabletop tests for some of our disaster recovery and incident response stuff, we had tested the first 2 stages, 30 times in the last week. So that stuff was like second nature to many of the staff in the IT organization. Number 17. So for those of you who have seen the movie, this actually changes as the movie goes on. It starts out with don't be a hero. And then Jesse Eisenberg's love interest gets in trouble and he decides he's going to be the hero. Okay. I relate this to some patching strategies. So be a hero. patch your stuff that's internet facing and or your internal test systems immediately as soon as the patches are available. Okay, so one, if there's a threat in the wild, patch the stuff that's going to get attacked from the wild. And two, patch those internal test systems to see what breaks. Okay, but don't be a hero. Don't patch everything the moment the patch comes out. I know that may be a little bit unpopular, but patch your test systems. Give it a week to level out, see what happens, see what breaks on those test systems, and see if other users are having problems as well. Okay, number 18, limber up. See rule number 1, cardio. Okay, practice makes perfect. So you guys are going to learn about all sorts of new things here at DerbyCon and these other cons as well. Give the opportunity for yourself to go back to the office, spend an evening sitting on the sofa with your laptop in front of the TV and your significant other or the dog or whichever. And practice some of this stuff. Try it out because you don't want to be trying it on a pen test or in your organization the first time live. I actually had this happen to me a couple months ago. I had never used Mimikatz. And fortunately, I remembered enough of my high school French to be able to figure it out because Mimikatz is written completely in French. And I had the opportunity to use Mimikatz because I could not get my interpreter hash dump to work on this one system. So I had to learn Mimikatz and Google and look at some of Mark's posts. No, it was Tim Tomes' post. I get the two of you confused, which is disturbing. Okay, it's not the hair. You don't have hair, and he does. Okay, so had to learn that on the fly at the customer, and took another 2 hours out of actual activity they could have been doing to learn a tool that I hadn't used before. Okay. Number 19, I see this again, sort of the lessons learned out of incident response. Something goes wrong in your organization. It's not a matter of if it will go wrong, it's when it will go wrong. Great. Do the lessons learned. Find out what the problem was in the organization, but don't point fingers. It's not the time to say, well, we got compromised because server admin A didn't patch his system like he was supposed to. No, find out why it didn't get patched like it was supposed to. See if you can correct the problem, and don't place blame because that doesn't get you anywhere. That just gets a whole bunch of people pissed off at you and being unwilling to help. And then they see that you're not pointing fingers and they say, hey, you know what? They come up to you after and say, hey, I'm sorry I screwed up, but we're going to make this better for next time. So. Number 20. This one I had a little bit of a struggle with, and this one actually sort of worked out pretty good. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Unless it's a sprint, well, then sprint. And I don't know how many times that we've gone into a customer network, we start doing the pre-assessment. Hey, tell me where your crown jewels are. Where does that live? And great, well, I'm going to go into pen test and I'm going to compromise 1,000 systems. Woo! Shells on 1,000 boxes. Game over, right? Well, no. Did I get the 2 systems where their crown jewels were, where all their data was? Well, they told me where the data was. Okay, great. Great. Go compromise those 2 systems, not 1,000. But sometimes the customer doesn't know where that data is, so you actually have to go and compromise 1,000 systems to find it for them. And sometimes they don't even realize that it may actually be on all 1,000 of those systems as well. So when it's not a sprint, sometimes you need to do 1,000 to get 2, and sometimes you need 2 to get 1,000. Okay. Number 21. All right. Well, I don't know if this is solid advice. Avoid strip clubs. Depends. All right. So many of the times you find the strip clubs are pretty dark and seedy as a general rule. Okay. And yes, there are those same places on the internet too. I know, preaching to the choir. But the problem is that all of our users love to go there. Okay. They click on stuff. As Jaded Security would say, don't click shit, right? But yeah, our users do. And they go to those really dark, seedy places on the internet. So let's protect the users from themselves by using some appropriate web filtering, host hardening, all of those types of things. Take those mistakes out of the hands of the users and then provide them some education as well. All right. When in doubt, know your way out. Again, this is probably one of those basic sort of pen test techniques. You do a remote pen test over the internet, you break in, and you're on the inside of the network. Well, great. How did you get there? Well, you deployed interpreter reverse TCP, but on which ports outbound? 8443, because everyone allows their servers out to the internet, because that's smart. Okay. But yeah, Larry, we allow them out to the internet, but we use a browser proxy. Great. Use interpreter reverse TCP with the IE proxy and leverage that. It takes the proxy configurations right from the Windows operating system and Internet Explorer and leverages the proxy outbound as well. So yeah, figure out what's outbound from the networks, know your way out of networks, and even consider stuff like Tor. I have gone into many environments that said, yeah, we do a really good job. We don't want data coming out of our environment. And sure enough, we block a whole bunch of places. We don't allow you to go to Twitter, but they don't allow you to go to HTTP, twitter.com, as opposed to HTTPS. HTTPS, twitter.com is perfectly acceptable. Why? And then they say, well, yeah, we don't let any unauthorized connections outbound. And sure enough, I've got a Tor tunnel out and I'm coming out in Russia somewhere. And then exfilling all of their data out that way. Yeah, they don't like that very much. And done that for a number of big name companies that have said, yeah, we do a really good job. And yeah, no, you don't. Because you didn't even notice that the Tor connection was up and stable and I just transferred 10 gigs worth of data. Whoops. Okay. All right, number 23. Allegedly, this one was unofficial, but I did see a film, I think it was on a portion on YouTube, where a guy was in a warehouse and had a lantern. And the zombies were closing in, and the only thing that made him feel safe was sort of the lantern, so he could see where he was going, and the lantern went out. So he grabs the matches out of his pocket to try to relight the lantern, and sure enough, they had gotten wet. And next thing you know, the matches aren't lighting, and the zombies come in and munch his brains. Okay. So great. Take care of your tools. If you're doing evidence collection, use the Ziploc bag. Make sure your stuff doesn't get wet. Make sure you know where it is at all time, and make sure your stuff is protected. Okay. Number 24, use your thumbs. So in many cases, we're playing a battle of catch-up against our adversaries, but you are, in fact, smarter than they are, because we've done a lot of hard work. We know their attack methodologies, and we're learning more about their attack methodologies. Great. Use something like being smarter than they are against them, like leveraging something like the Advanced Harbinger attack distribution and offensive countermeasures to puts that state of confusion in some of those pen testers, or not testers, the adversaries. So you'll stand up one of these, you hit a website, and it starts sending some of their web scanning tools down into the black hole and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And they wonder what's going on. They never find what they're really looking for because you're misdirecting them. Or leveraging other tools that get executed on their system legally to track down what their exact origin is. Number 25, shoot first. Also, don't hold your shotgun like that. That's a great way to break your wrist. Okay, so shoot first. Run your own internal red team. Convince your organization, get your auditors to say, hey, you guys aren't pen testing your stuff internally. Get the auditors to tell your management that, and then get to run your own internal red team. And you're going to say, Larry, why would we run our own internal red team? We built most of this stuff. Yeah, great. You built most of this stuff. So figure out where the failures are and test those things that you thought you built, and test all those things that you helped develop policies for and see if they actually were implemented appropriately. So this is some of the things that we go into customer environments and they say, great, Larry, we want you to do a black box test. All right, fine, we'll do a black box test. We want you to figure out where all of our IP addresses are. We're not going to tell you about any of our internal networks. We're just going to give you a port to plug into. Okay, cool. So you're going to pay me for another 40 hours worth of work to do that discovery, when in fact it takes us like 2, because we brute force DNS and get all their IP ranges, and it's done. But they're going to pay for it. You're going to tell probably a good pen tester to get more bang for your buck to actually have them do the testing and not the discovery. You're going to find out, and it's not going to take them long. So you, as a pen tester in your organization or a consultant, that really behooves you to start working on not a black box test and do sort of a white or crystal box as well. And also, don't shoot Bill Murray, because that sucks. Okay. All right. So number 26, a little sunscreen never hurt anybody. This woman certainly could have used some. This woman actually looks like some of the leather from over at the Hackers for Charity booth. It's not very nice. So yeah, the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Great. Doing some of those little things may actually help you. And I know my good friend John Strand would be in the back of the room screaming at me, Larry, antivirus is ineffective. Well, to me, if in a larger environment, you're getting sort of volume discounts for antivirus per desktop client, and if you can get that number down to under $20 a desktop, and you can stop 60% of the known attacks, saving the users from themselves 60% of the time for minimal expense, to me, that's a win. Because you know what? That's 60% of the crap that I don't have to deal with. And John would be screaming, Larry, AV is ineffective. We can bypass that. Yeah, you can bypass that with some sophistication, but most of the time the stuff that you're seeing coming in is, users clicking on links with no sophistication behind them and saving yourself maybe 60% of the time. Okay. Number 27, hey, we're actually closing in and actually going a little fast. Okay. Number 27, incoming. Yes, the zombies will find you. They can smell you a mile away. They know you have brains. So it's not a matter of when you get attacked or that you will get attacked. So anybody know what the survivability rate for a Windows 8 or Windows 7 machine directly connected to the internet is nowadays?
How many minutes?
How many minutes? Any idea? Yeah, you remember the days when they used to give us the figures of a fully patched Windows XP system directly connected to the internet without a firewall. The survival rate was like 4 minutes before it got compromised, discovered and compromised. Yeah, I don't know what any of those new rates are. So it's not a matter of that you when you'll get compromised. It's that you probably already are, and maybe you don't know it. And if you think about some of those survival rates, great. You are going to get compromised. Get your stuff in gear, get it in order so you know what to do after it happens. Okay. Double knot your shoes. This one I struggled with a lot, and I had a lot of feedback from a gentleman that wanted to remain mostly anonymous, but the name he gave me was Shasta McGillicuddy. Yeah, he used that name when making restaurant reservations in Vegas. And people in Vegas have seen everything. They don't care what your name is. He thought he was being funny by like some weird name. And yeah, no, okay, that's fine. Yeah. All right, Mr. McGillicuddy, have a seat. Okay. Yeah, Shasta McGillicuddy. Shasta McGillicuddy. Yeah, they weren't phased at all. So that's what the name you want to go by. So with a double layer of knots on your shoes, when you start doing cardio and running from zombies, you're not going to start getting tripped up on your own shoelaces. Well, that's great. You tie the shoes once, and that's like having a backup plan, taking file system backups, coming up with some hot spares, even some cold spares on the shelf for networking gear, and having all of those configurations, on a thumb drive in the safe somewhere so that you can repopulate the stuff when it goes to heck in a handbasket. Great. That's the first knot. Okay. Double knot it. Make sure the stuff actually works. Test it. Restore from backup. You don't want to find out that you've been doing backups for 3 years and you've got 3 years worth of tapes or in rotation for a year and that not a single one of them works. Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah, and hey, by the way, that was also your Exchange server with something along the lines of 6 million messages on it, and now they're all gone. Yeah, that does not make for a very good day. Some other things that with that, make sure that if you're going to be implementing some sort of backup plan, and this was sort of actually critical when I was dealing with this stuff around HIPAA, was that the backup plan that you implemented had to implement the same level of security as your primary plan. So maybe you can even take this opportunity to implement the new stuff and make the security even better. Okay, number 29, the buddy system. Great. You came to DerbyCon. You're here to learn from all sorts of fun folks. Don't let the education stop here. Find folks in your area. Check some of your local groups. Stuff like the local DEF CON groups in Rhode Island. We have DC 401. Lots of really smart folks there that are willing to share information. Consider ISACA, ISSA, InfraGard. Yeah, I know it's the government, but they got lots of really smart folks. All of those places are really great resources to find folks local on the ground and have fun with it. Okay. The other one too is if you're new to the industry, reach out for folks willing to be a mentor. And if you've been in this industry for a long time, consider being a mentor to some of those new folks. And you're, well, I don't want to be a mentor. Well, guess what? We're all going to reach retirement age at some point. Okay. And we're going to want to retire. So someone's got to take up the charge from us when it's our time to go. So start training your replacement or start educating your replacement. May not be your direct replacement, but it's going to be protecting your credit card information, all your pension information, 30 years from now potentially. Okay. All right, number 30, pack your stain stick. Okay. Pre-treat your messes. That's why they have these little Tide pens, because Larry's a really sloppy eater and he spills chili on himself. Yeah, that this whole zombie fighting thing is going to be messy. You're going to get blood on you. Well, if you know that you're going to get blood on you to begin with, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you prepare? To me, this is something along the lines of, you know, you're going to get compromised. How about knowing that when it happens and taking in all the information from all the available sources and have you do some notification so when it happens, you know it. To me, that seems something like a security event management solution, SIM, you name it, and have it there, monitor it, and listen to all the output, investigate everything that comes out of it. Okay. Number 31, check the back seat. So the zombies aren't terribly smart. Well, at least in the zombies that I believe in. Okay. Well, or at least. So there's the whole different theories on zombies. You know, the slow-moving ones that are not very smart, and then there's the slow-moving ones that can climb ladders. And I don't believe in those kinds. And then there's the Romero type of zombies that run and are, you know, highly intelligent and thinking. Yeah, no, I don't like those either. I like the dumb ones. Okay. So they're not terribly smart, but they show up in unexpected places because they find everything. Okay. Yeah, they're sneaky. Okay. Like hiding in the back seat of the car when you go to, you know, steal that car to get away. And next thing you know, there's a zombie munching on the back of your neck from the back seat because you forgot to check the back seat. To me, that being sneaky is all of these darn embedded devices in our environment. Okay? Half the time, they're running some sort of embedded Linux system. They can be leveraged as a pivot point within your networks. They have root compromises available for them. They're vulnerable, and no one patches them. Okay? Why? Because it's a printer. Yeah, the paper came out of it with printing on it just fine. But turns out it's an embedded Linux operating system and is being used to steal all of the print jobs. And that printer right outside of payroll has, you know, nothing good that ever comes out of it, like salary information, social security numbers, any of that type of stuff. And they're sending all of that information elsewhere. Okay. So don't discount those embedded devices in your organization, from switches to printers to access points to, you know, everything in between that isn't a traditional desktop. Okay. Number 32. So we're closing right in on the end. Number 32, enjoy the little things. So for those of you who have seen the movie, the whole reason that Woody Harrelson is driving all over the place is to find Twinkies, which became very ironic when Hostess Corporation went out of business. Okay. Yeah, so I tweeted at the time, we had the Hostess Twinkies cookbook, and I'm like, okay, so this is either going to be really awesome in a few years because it's going to be valuable, or this really sucks because I can't cook anything in this cookbook anymore. Because there's well, fortunately there are Twinkies now, but they're not quite the same. Okay. All right. So I see this as, you know, don't discount the little things. Enjoy the little things when they happen. You have to be your own biggest champion in your organization when things go right. This was one of the things that I felt as one of the things that we didn't do enough in healthcare. Part of the reason why I left, they said, hey, Larry, you're doing a fantastic job. We haven't gotten compromised. We haven't had anything than a minor virus infestation in 5 years. So you're doing something right. Yeah, well, you don't realize how much we're doing right. You know, these are the types of attacks we stop. These are the types of things we research. These are the types of things that we implemented to prevent that stuff from happening. This was a lot of work. Well, no, Larry, apparently it wasn't because, well, you did everything right. You implemented everything right the first time. So yeah, we're not going to fund your replacement for your IDS that's, you know, 2 years out of service and has been end of life a year ago. And in those firewalls, they're working just fine. They're doing a great job. Yeah, no, those were end of life 2 years ago, and I can't get a replacement. And oh, by the way, you're doing a great job. You don't need any more resources. In fact, we're probably going to lay somebody off on your team because you're doing such a great job. Oh, no, that's the wrong direction that they're going. So you have to be your own biggest champion. Hey, we did all these great things. This is what we did last week. These are some of the things that we've had some operational wins. We met these policies and we did all these other things. There was this attack that happened, and guess what? Everybody else around us got pwned and we didn't. You know, be your own champion. So you start doing some of this type of stuff and doing some business analytics for uptime analysis and all these things based on the things that you were able to accomplish through your security program. And then the management and your audit folks look at that and go, hey, this is really smart. So maybe we now need to work with you and focus on some other areas in which we can improve the stuff. And well, maybe implementing some of the security really meant that you guys had better uptime because somebody didn't actually compromise our web server and we hit it down and we lost millions of dollars worth of business because it was compromised. Okay. All right. So in closing, found out those 32. I'm not done quite yet. Oh, the drum roll. Okay, I thought you were clapping. Hey, this is finally over. Yay, God. Bring on Mark Baggett. So doing the research for the Zombieland rules, I submitted the talk title 32, and turns out there's really 33 rules. And the last one was in honor of my good friend Ed Scotus. Number 33 was the Swiss Army knife, aka a tool that can do everything. Okay, an assault rifle bow that fires swords. Okay, and Ed Scotus would refer to a Swiss Army knife of pen testing, Netcat, which I had actually never used in a pen test up until a couple months ago. So yeah, sure enough, it was the tool that did exactly what I needed it to, because it can do just about everything. Okay, so that was my one in honor of Ed Scotus, number 33, the Swiss Army knife. Okay, for Netcat. Okay, so that's all I've got for you folks. Appreciate your time taken out of busy schedules, and you could have gone see somebody like Joe Grand or something like. But what I really know that you're doing, you're coming in here and you're getting in a seat so you can come see Mark talk next, and I appreciate that for sitting listening to me. So if you want to discuss anything afterwards, certainly find me around. I'll be all over the place. If you got suggestions for some of those rules, I'd love to hear them. Larry at inguardians.com, Hacks of the Matrix on Twitter, and/or throw stuff at me at the conference. If it's hard and sharp, I keep it. If it's soft, I'll give it back to you so you can throw it again. So with that, thank you very much, and enjoy. Have a great time at DerbyCon.